in the squadron. They called him Bullets, but we call him Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly is on the air
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Hey, I'm open to anything regarding Charlie Kirk. All right, but I've looked at the video a million times, and if you got evidence, let me see it. But everything I've seen shows me that transgender fixated Tyler Robinson opened fire on on Charlie, because, well, he hated his ideas and he felt enormous, almost permission, a green light from the dominant media and Democrats who falsely portrayed Charlie Kirk as a menace to society, right? Almost thinking he'd be a hero for doing this. He got caught. I don't see, is there weirdness about it? I guess the weirdest thing I've seen so far is he jumps off the roof and that rifle is somehow with him, but it doesn't fold up, and he doesn't seem to have a rifle with him, but they find the rifle some distance away. Yeah, that's all weird. Is there an explanation for it? Sure. Absolutely. There's got to be. I do remember talking to my dad once about a murder, an investigation, and I said, this doesn't add up, and that doesn't add up, and this doesn't add up. And he said, you know what? Sometimes not everything adds up. Evidence is a component. It's not everything. He probably said it better than that, but it's like there are, it's the preponderance of the evidence, reasonable doubt. There's always doubt, I guess, but is it reasonable? That's up to a jury. What's reasonable, what's unreasonable? You could argue that's a little bit subjective. But I think the stuff about Charlie Kirk, everything I've seen suggests that it's Tyler Robinson, as I said. With Crooks and the shooting of President Trump, that one is wide open. And if there's any silver lining from Mr. Kent coming out and saying what he's saying about Iran, is observations about the Trump assassination attempt I do find interesting, worthwhile. I don't think he had to blow up U.S. foreign policy in the getting this information out, but he did, or at least he tried to. That's very selfish, and to me, that's a guy who, just wants to be something. Where is he again? All these commercials, him doing this, that, and the other thing. Look at me. Look at me, I'm a soldier. Look at me and what I did. I don't care. I'm sorry, I don't. I don't care. After General Milley blew it up like that, why should I ever trust anybody? Anybody, almost, in government, military or otherwise. I want to believe the best in anybody, but just because you're this doesn't mean you're that. Okay, Tucker Carlson. Now, the other thing, it's a little bit suspicious. He goes to the number one podcast in the universe, right? Goes right to Tucker's house after he resigned. So he's looking to make a splash. And also, he's going to be looking for some money, because this man needs money. Hey, I get it. I need dough like anybody. Everybody needs money. But to make it in this fashion, to make a splash, it's a stunt. And that's what I don't like. However, some interesting things have come up. Hit it.
And then, Charlie Kirk is killed publicly in a very horrific way, and we're not really even allowed to look into that at all. And Charlie Kirk was one of President Trump's closest advisors, and he also advocated heavily against a war with Iran. He was in the Oval Office in the lead up to the 12-day war. I wasn't particularly close with Charlie. He was very gracious to me when I was running for Congress, very, very supportive. So we knew each other. And the last time I saw Charlie Kirk on this earth was in June in the West Wing in the stairway, and I said hi to him, and he looked me in the eye, and he said very loudly, and it's a small. You've been in the West Wing. It's small. It's a tight space, and he said, "Joe, stop us from getting into a war with Iran," very loudly.
He was single-minded,
and he walked off, and he went, I believe, into the Oval. So when one of President Trump's closest advisors, who is vocally advocating for us to not go to war with Iran, and for us to rethink at least our relationship with the Israelis. And then he's suddenly publicly assassinated, and we're not allowed to ask any questions about that. It's a data point. It's a data point that we need to look into.
What do you mean when you say we're not allowed to ask any questions about that?
We've been told that this individual, Robinson, is a lone gunman, and maybe he is. But the investigation that I was a part of, the National Counterterrorism Center was a part of, we were stopped from continuing to investigate. And the FBI will say that they stopped that because They wanted to have turn everything over to the Utah state authorities. Everything's going to trial. It's very, very sensitive. But there was still a lot for us to look into that I can't really get into. But there was still linkage for us to investigate that we needed to run down. And I'm not making any conclusions. I'm not saying
no, I don't think you are.
Because of this happened. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying there's unanswered questions. We know the pressure because of the text messages that have been made public that Charlie was under a lot of pressure from a lot of pro-Israel donors. And again, we know Charlie was advocating to President Trump against this war with Iran.
So, I'm actually picking up a guy who's on the outside, not on the inside. A guy who lives and dies by social media and podcasting. I don't see the maturity, depth of experience, breadth of experience. I see a naivete, actually, throughout his comments. But I want to continue. All right. Next.
What kind of pressure does it require to get a president who campaigned against exactly this thing for 10 years to do exactly this thing? What does it take to do that?
I wish I knew definitively. I think there's two potentials or two schools of thought. I mean, one is the media echo chamber, the donors, the way the Israelis come in and kind of launder the information like I described previously. And then the other option is much darker. I mean, we still don't know what happened in Butler. We don't know what happened with Charlie Kirk. And by no means am I saying the Israelis did this or any of that, but I'm saying there's a lot of unanswered questions there. And there is enough data to at least say that there's a good chance that President Trump feels like he is under threat. We're not allowed to ask, basically, was there any linkage between what took place with Asif Merchant, who was recruited by the Iranians to come to America to recruit proxies to kill President Trump. The FBI put a confidential human source at him. All this is public now. This is all out there in the open. And he's arrested, and then 2 days later, a sniper takes a shot at President Trump. We think Merchant and we know the CHS was talking about the human source that the FBI put at Merchant. They were talking about, hey, we could kill the president potentially with a sniper rifle. But then they arrest him. 2 days later, Butler happens. And Crooks, according to the official narrative anyways, is an enigma. We don't know anything about him. We can't get into his devices. If we did get into his devices, maybe there's nothing there. No more questions are allowed to be asked about Thomas Crooks. The DHS IG is currently being blocked from investigating Butler as well. That's out in the media. That's all well known. Your investigative journalists found that Crooks did indeed have an online persona,
quite an
online
extensive
footprint,
one.
And he was talking to people. So it's like, why aren't we investigating this? I mean, if
an attempted murder of a presidential
candidate, and then there's another assassination attempt. There's been multiple public breaches of President Trump's security over the last year. And then, Charlie Kirk is killed publicly in a very horrific way. And we're not really even allowed to look into that at all. And Charlie Kirk was one of President Trump's.
All right. Now, wait. Now we heard this part again. But I mean, why is it, why was he not allowed to do that? I don't think he was charged with doing that. All right. I don't think there was a role for him to do that. There are assessments that are made. Now, is that terrorism? Does that qualify as domestic terrorism? Is being charged with terrorism? You could argue it's terrorism, but I don't think that's the nature. I mean, the counterterrorism in the Department of National Intelligence, guess what? That is about foreign stuff. It's like the CIA. Its intelligence capabilities, it's domestic. By law, it's domestic. FBI, by law, it's international. FBI is domestic. But he wanted to pursue that. I could see him, quite frankly, being a pain in the ass around the office. Yes, Dennis, hello.
Greg, listener since day one, and I keep telling you get better every day, but you get fantastically better every day, and today's show is a good example of that. And the reason I called, Greg, two things. First of all, have we as yet eliminated their ability to build a bomb?
I guess we don't know. I mean, I would think we have. They were on the doorstep of getting a bomb. But remember, that's not the only part of this thing. We want to get rid of their missile capability. We want them to stop exporting terror all the time. And after 47 years, I think they had it coming. So I don't know about the bomb stuff. Thanks for your kind words. What do you think?
Yeah, in my opinion, I don't think they've done it as yet, because all they do is tell us every day that they knocked out 37,000 different sites, but nobody's saying anything about the bomb, which was the prime reason. I know they want to change the leadership, but the number one is the bomb, and they don't say anything at all. All we hear every day is numbers about how great we are. So we're curious about that. And talking about the numbers and how great we are, who in the government is assigned the responsibility of determining our inventory and missiles and drones so that we don't run out of them if we have another, like something with China? Who's the person that watches over the inventory?
Nobody wants to do that. No, it's funny. Politicians hate doing that. It's the one thing. Yeah. We'll take care of the bullets later. I mean, in answer to your question, the military, right? Particularly the service secretaries, right? They're really the guys who acquire stuff, hardware, and they're the ones with the eye on, okay, what do we got? What do we need? And these missiles and bombs we're dropping, they can't be made overnight. This is not World War II. Everything is more complicated. These weapon systems are, it's not just a big piece of metal with some TNT inside. There's a lot going on in there, and sensors, and they all have little wings on them, and they're smart, and they are complex, and they are very, very expensive, which is a problem because these drones are pretty simple and they're very, very cheap. Thank you, Dennis. Let's try Martin in upstate New York. Hello.
Hello there, Greg. How are you?
Fine. How are you?
Okay, so I think it's great what WABC is doing, bringing the news people in and having them talk with you. And the other hosts. Your news people are great. Lisa G's great. As far as Kent talking to Tucker Carlson, Trump did the smart thing and said Tucker is no longer MAGA. He's not part of this thing. That sounds like conspiracy theorists to me. That's what I think. What do you think?
Wait, who's a conspiracy theorist? Tucker, and
yeah,
a little bit. Yeah, most of it is a little bit weird and pretty much out there. The stuff about Crooks got my attention. I forgot about that. He went to the range. You can't go anywhere these days without being videotaped, right? Anywhere. You're being recorded no matter what the hell you do. And they did capture him there. We get so much video of so many things. Why don't we have more of Crooks? What's going on with the FBI, really? What is up with that? A Federal Bureau of Investigation, I guess. What else am I going to expect? All right, fair points there, William. Yeah, there's some conspiracy gibberish, but there's also some solid stuff there. And you know what? People are allowed to speak. I don't decry. Well, actually, maybe not. Maybe not the day after you're let go or you quit a federal job in intelligence. I don't know if you're allowed to go on the big podcast right away. Thank you, pal. I'll be right back.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
But we're doing this excursion, and when it's completed, we're going to have a much safer world. And the Prime Minister agrees with me on this. She considers it to be terrible what Iran did. I think every country does, just about every country does. Iran is a serious threat to the world, to the Middle East and to the world. And everybody agrees with me. I think virtually every country agrees with me on that. So I wanted to put out that fire. And I said, if I do that, oil prices will go up, the economy will go down a little bit. I thought it would be worse, much worse, actually. I thought there was a chance it could be much worse. It's not bad, and it's going to be over with pretty soon.
Okay. The excursion. Hey, I'm all right. Maybe we call it an excursion, not a war. I mean, maybe it's not a war until we have boots on the ground, if we have boots on the ground. All right. Well, this is major. He says, the whole world recognized this, and now is the whole world with us? The NATO people, the head of NATO, the Secretary General of NATO, came out and rather with some passion said, we got to do this. We got to help America right now against Iran. Hit it.
In my contacts with allies all over NATO territory, what I'm sensing and hearing is that we all agree, as we always did, that it was crucial for Iran not to get its hands on a nuclear capability, a ballistic missile capability, and What the US is doing at the moment is degrading that capability of Iran. And I think that's very important. This is important for European security, for the Middle East. It is vital for Israel itself. Then when it comes to the Hormuz Strait, everybody agrees. This strait cannot stay closed. It has to open up again as soon as possible. This is crucial for world economy. In my context with allies are seeing is that they are intensely discussing amongst each other with the United States and amongst each other the best way forward to tackle this huge security issue. And let me add to that, that I'm confident that allies, as always, will do everything in support of our shared interest.
Look, that's very, very positive. All right. That's a big, big, big step in the right direction. We were getting a lot of heat from everybody. And you know what? They don't actually have to do anything. I think we have to pound Iran into oblivion, right? And the warning is we are going to be back the moment you mess with a ship in the Strait of Hormuz. It's almost, I don't know. I don't know enough about naval warfare, actually. How well protected are the aircraft carriers? If this were a first world country using first world techniques, I'd be like, they can take it. I'm pretty confident. However, with this crazy ragtag group and their killer kamikaze drones, I don't know. And I don't know if the military knows. We have never fought this kind of war with the drones. We're a little bit behind the world. Ukraine, Russia, they've been throwing drones in part because, well, they don't have as much money as they want. And they spend the money on great big villas and Chanel bags and shopping trips to Paris, Mrs. Zelensky, right? So they don't have enough money for the hardware, so they buy the cheap little drones, and they have turned out to be incredibly effective. I don't know. God bless our troops, huh? God bless our troops. It's a dangerous thing. I don't think I want the Marines in that Gulf right now. I don't think that's a good idea. Hey, you need an embassy evacuated? Great. Send in the MEU. You need vast territory of Iran taken and held? I don't know. That's where you get into the 150,000, 250,000, 450,000 guys just might be needed. And I don't want to go there. President Trump kind of made it clear here. He's not going to be doing that. But everything's on the table. Everything's possible. There's the music. 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222.
LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return, but I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though.
I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
This episode is brought to you by Cologuard. Do you know what's really scary? Not screening for colon cancer when you turn 45. The Cologuard test is non-invasive, requires no special prep or time off work, and ships right to your door. In just 3 simple steps, Cologuard takes the scare out of colon cancer screening. If you're 45 or older and at average risk, ask your healthcare provider about the Cologuard test. Cologuard is available by prescription only. Learn more or request a prescription today at Cologuard.com/screen.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And we are back from New York City, a city that is once again crumbling in pretty much every way. The infrastructure, the morale, the people. I had the most bizarre experience today on public transportation. It's happened before, but this was deeply concerning. I got on a New York City bus. I hate taking a cab. And it's very difficult. If you've been to New York, you know this, but it's very difficult to drive around this city, day in and day out. It's a pain. So I have a car, but I generally don't use it during the week. All right. I can walk or take the subway or occasionally cabs. So I take the damned bus, and a guy sits down right next to me. It's big, burly, It's 8:15 in the morning. He starts drinking a beer, big Corona Light, tall boy, and he starts yelling and screaming about Jewish people and white people and how evil they are. And I was about to say, hey, why don't you shut up? And then I thought, you know what? He just might have a gun on him, or a knife, or a small hand grenade. Best I just get off the bus at my stop. And I did. I didn't get off the bus right away. I waited till my stop. And nobody else kind of like moved either. You know, they stood their ground. But they were all very conscious and wary of this guy with so much hate. I wonder where he could have picked up so much hate. Maybe from, I don't know, the television, just turning on the TV or glancing at the New York Times. He seemed so convinced of his systemic racism and that the Palestinians were victims, and he's yelling and cursing. Anyway, crisis averted. No big deal. Charles Marino joins us, the former Secret Service, former Department of Homeland Security, and future. The sky is the limit. He is a strategist. He's also an expert on security. Welcome back, Charles Marino. How are you? And
how are you, Greg?
I'm all right. I'm a little bit sore, a lot sore at this Joe Kent character. What do you make of him? And leaves Monday, and on Tuesday he's on the Tucker Carlson podcast saying stuff I don't think he should be saying.
Well, that, and I'd love to know when that interview was scheduled. So this was obviously a planned, coordinated attack on the president, who I think Mr. Kent forgets that the president of the United States sets national security strategy for the country. He consumes the information that's provided to him by the intelligence agencies, and then he makes a decision. And I think the decision that the president made here with respect to Iran was the correct one. Enough is enough. If not now, when was the good time going to be to finally take care of this thorn in our side for 47 years? The president ripped the Band-Aid off, and it's time that somebody delivered the message. And I'm going to say something else, Greg. I think a lot of the presidents before President Trump wished that they were bold enough and had the political will to take the action he just did.
Excellent. And but look, we're 20 days in now, something like that. I'm optimistic. President Trump has never let us down. But what do you make of this Strait of Hormuz business? And how does this thing come in for a landing?
I got to tell you a little bit of a disappointing area in this, considering that Iran's playbook, anytime they have conflict, is to put the economic pressure by threatening or actually shutting down or limiting the Strait of Hormuz. That's got to be remedied, and it's got to be remedied quick, not only because of the global impact that it has, but it's also just a very bad look right now. And so,
what do you mean bad look? Bad look for who?
It's a little bit of a bad look for the administration that we were not better prepared for this response from Iran. Like I said, this is their go-to in terms of really one of the few things that they can do in their own neighborhood that has global consequences. And so we're going to have to get in there, and we're going to have to open the Strait of Hormuz up. Now, how long do we wait for our NATO allies to come and assist in this? We don't need them. So let's just go ahead and assume they're not going to be coming anytime soon to get this channel opened up so that the flow of global goods, because even though we're not impacted right now as significantly as other countries are, like, say, China is not going to come out in opposition, especially when they are at risk, along with Russia and North Korea, to losing a major ally in Iran in the region. So China's going to let Iran do what they want to do, even though they're more significantly impacted by the closure of the strait than we are.
Understood. Wow. Hey, what about this? Somebody ran it by me. The oil isn't exactly flowing yet from Venezuela. And the plan is we did Venezuela first because, look, if this thing does go south, we'll have oil. The world will have oil from Venezuela, and Venezuela can pick up the slack if we lose the oil from we being the world, if we lose the oil from the Persian Gulf?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Again, all different, and this is not my sweet spot, but I know a lot about it because of the economic security and how it feeds into national security. So you get all of these different grades of oil. I believe that we have the refineries that can handle Venezuela's grade of oil. But this is exactly why we have oil from Texas that then has to go other places around the world to be refined and then put into the marketplace. So it's actually a much more complicated global system of processing this oil than I think a lot of people would imagine. And so this brings the focus back to President Trump's strategy and reinforces his belief that, look, as much production as we can bring back home here in the United States and in the Western Hemisphere, the better for us from a national security standpoint. And this is proving that point.
All right. Let me go to this Joe Kent character again. He quits and he starts blabbing right away on the Tucker Carlson show. Number one, he probably technically is still a federal employee. So talking the way he did on Tucker Carlson may be illegal. And the other thing I guess I wanted to ask about him, just your overall thoughts, but I'm really kind of insulted. I think we all should be that he quit the same day he said he was going to quit. You know what I mean? I quit.
Yeah.
And I worked at Baskin Robbins. I gave them 2 weeks notice. You know, when I was 15 years old, I gave Baskin Robbins more consideration than this guy gave the Counterterrorism Center.
Yeah, I don't know what he's blown away by. Again, I mean, you serve at the pleasure of the president. You know what the president is prioritizing in terms of his foreign and domestic agenda. And you know his foreign agenda included Iran never getting a nuclear weapon or posing a threat to the United States. He was very clear on that. So at what point did the surprise come for him when he agreed to sign on to the administration knowing all of this? And so the whole thing just stinks to high heaven. Look, it's coordinated all the way down to you submit your resignation on company letterhead. Who does that?
Company letterhead. Right. I mean,
you know what I'm saying? Like, who does that?
So I know maybe if effective immediately, you've already quit. Stop using our stuff. You can't put it on.
You've already made the appointment. You've already booked the appearance on Tucker Carlson, likely a week or two beforehand. I would love to know how far in advance that was coordinated. And so, like I said, the whole thing stinks. It's disingenuous. You've got previous statement voicing your support for action in Iran when you're seeking a position in the administration. You get in the administration, and then when the action that you supported is taken, you're against it.
Hey, tell me a little bit about the job itself that he had. Director of National Intelligence, under that, and he was I believe the director of counterterrorism. What is the exact job? What does he do? Take us through that.
The National Counterterrorism Center is really what I would say the organizer of all of the information that is consumed from the intelligence agencies. Again, we've got the Department of Homeland Security is a member of the IC. You saw the NSA, the CIA. So you saw everybody. And then Director Tulsi Gabbard is essentially the quarterback, the Director of National Intelligence. But as far as pulling all of these pieces together, remember when we always spoke about the failure to connect the dots? That is the essential role of the NCTC, is to pull in all this disparate information from all these different agencies and make them make sense. Make sure that they're tying together all of these threats to then inform the Director of National Intelligence, which was born out of the failures of 9/11. Tulsi Gabbard's got an important job, as does Joe Kent. in his position at the National Counterterrorism Center. So each of these positions is vital to the intelligence community working the way it was redesigned in terms of no silos, information sharing, and reading the tea leaves based on the intelligence that's being collected from across the entirety of the intelligence community. So they've got to fill that position, and they've got to fill it with the right person.
You're amazing, pal. I appreciate it. Charles Marino, good stuff. CharlesMarino.com, right, sir?
You got it.
All of your counterterrorism, national security, personal security needs. CharlesMarino.com. We appreciate it, sir. Many, many thanks. And, folks, we'll be right back.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Pardon me, but we're joined by the man who told us exactly when the war would start. And maybe he knows exactly when it's going to end. General Blaine Holt of the U.S. Air Force, retired. You are amazing. You've been amazing. Sir, do you know when this war's going to end? Uh-oh. Did we just lose him? Try him one more time. Yeah, we lost him. He must have been on one of those screwy cell phones. Yes, sir? Yes? Talk
Hello?
To me. Uh-oh, who's this? This is not Blaine Holt.
Hello, Blaine Holt's right here.
Oh, there we go. Sorry about that, General.
Hey, my phone is just fine, thank you.
We had to blame something.
Yeah, so I see.
So look, let me ask you something. I don't know if you heard what I said, but you totally nailed when this war was going to start. Do you know when it's going to end?
Yeah, I would say the meat of it, because this thing's going to go on a long time in terms of stability operations. But intensive combat operations, I think we're going to see a wind down probably in the next 3 to 4 weeks. But here's the thing. The thing we should all focus on right now is the Straits. And we cannot allow any entity, good guys, bad guys, doesn't matter, can't touch the oil fields, can't touch the gas fields. We're risking financial collapse. We're risking gas going through the moon. But more importantly than anything else, Greg, we're risking famine. The sulfur has got to get out of the Straits, and it's got to get out of there yesterday. We're in the planting season in Africa, and if we don't get that sulfur out to make potash fertilizer, you're going to see a cascading effect that's going to be very, very harmful. It's going to touch us here.
Okay. Can we keep this, my concern about the Strait of Hormuz? Oh, and good news, the guys from NATO want to help us out. But the moment you start escorting ships through there, I mean, escorting a ship is kind of like a combat operation, and you have even more vulnerability. In a lot of these systems, these, tracking 1,000 incoming missile systems, they work in theory, and they work some of the time, but they don't work all the time. And I don't know. I'm worried about that. It'll
be a risky mission. But they're going to soften it up. Now, let's not forget about the wonderful Marines from the 31st MEU. They're on their way, and they're going to be able to make a big difference. They're going to secure Karg Island, I believe. That's my speculation. But they're also going to bring a lot of firepower and force to the region. We're also going to be doubling down on our electronic warfare and bunker busters that hit coastal launchers. And then there's this last piece, which is so important as well. We're going to be interdicting. We are interdicting, but we're going to intensify the interdiction of command and control networks, cutting off the money from getting to the troops in Iran, and making it so that they effectively can't command anything from inside Tehran. Those are all the things that are required to make the threat near zero, as close to zero as it could be.
Okay. Well, I'm always encouraged when I talk to you, and I am. And should you listen to what this NATO guy said real quick? This is Mr. Root, the Secretary General. Check this out, if you don't mind.
In my contacts with allies all over NATO territory, what I'm sensing and hearing is that we all agree, as we always did, that it was crucial for Iran not to get its hands on a nuclear capability, a ballistic missile capability, and what the US is doing at the moment is degrading that capability of Iran, and I think that's very important. This is important for European security, for the Middle East. It is vital for Israel itself. Then when it comes to the Hormuz Strait, everybody agrees this strait cannot stay closed. It has to open up again as soon as possible. This is crucial for the world economy. In my context with allies are seeing is that they are intensely discussing amongst each other, with the United States and amongst each other, the best way forward to tackle this huge security issue. And let me add to that, that I'm confident that allies, as always, will do everything in support of our shared interest.
Is he spinning us, or is this genuine?
Nah, he's spinning you. He's saying what he wishes would happen. Mark Rutte, the great thief of 3,000 farms in the Netherlands when he was prime minister there, understands full well what the stakes are if Europe stays in this trap, this loyalty trap that President Trump has set for them. But he's going to have to get around Kaja Kallas of the EU, Keir Starmer of UK, and France's Macron, who said, not my war, not ever, U.S. has got this. They're going to have a softening of that. You'll see some NATO ships. And when you see the NATO ships getting close to the Straits of Hormuz, Greg, you'll know the threat is near gone or gone entirely, because that's when it's safe for a French cruiser to go anchor out of the Straits. I'm telling you, they are not going to they're not going to put one boat in there if there's a chance of a drone coming after them.
All right. Well, God bless our troops. I think President Trump is going to navigate us through all of this. It's right where everybody wants. You know, we've been here before. Everybody's doubting him. Everybody's saying, "Oh my God, he's done it this time," and he pulls it off. General Holt, thank you. Blaine Holt of the United States Air Force. You bet, sir. You bet. Well, I do feel better. How do you feel? Let's see here. Stewart? Is he in?
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, Greg. Greg, does Yanbo or Petro Line mean anything to you?
No comment.
Yanbo's a port on the Red Sea. Petro Line is what the Saudis came up with 40 years ago when they realized the Strait of Hormuz could be shut. It's a pipeline across Saudi Arabia that completely bypasses Hormuz. 10 million barrels a day capacity. That's the equivalent of 5 VLCC cargoes. That's number one.
Hey, wait. Where does the petrol go? From Saudi Arabia to where?
To Yanbo on the Red Sea. It's a port in Saudi Arabia.
10 million barrels a day. Is that right? Did you say 10 million barrels?
That's canal right into the Med to Europe.
All right. Well, that sounds like a good thing to have. Haven't heard about it before. Thanks for telling me. Seriously. What else?
Next, now let me really ruin your day.
What do you mean ruin my day? That's good news. I like the pipeline. What do you got now?
Oh, this isn't. A Scud-D is a missile. It's an old Russian missile, and it's a nice toy. It comes on a nice Erector launcher, and it's less than 40 feet. Now, the significance of less than 40 feet means it's a deck load on a container ship. A Scud-D can travel as old as it is, close to 4,000 miles an hour.
Oh, man, listen, we've been dealing with Scuds for a long time. Remember Scuds from the first Gulf War, right? All these old-timey missiles. Look, it's a dangerous world. All right? War. We have offensive weapons and defensive weapons. All right? So stop trying to worry everybody. All right. Thanks a lot, Stu. I got to go. There's the music. Bobby, Joe, Anthony, and the rest. Rachel, I'm sorry I can't get to you today, but we will get to you soon. And, yes, this is a very intense time. I'm thinking about our troops, but most of all, I'm thinking about our president. Praying for wisdom and sound decision-making, which he has never failed to provide. I think God will continue blessing him and blessing all of us. All the best.
Thanks for listening to The Greg Kelly Show. You can hear The Greg Kelly Show weekdays at 12:15 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?